this is a Scully Podcast, of course, and it's called Scully Sez. And so I'm going to let Mr. Patrick come on and tell us what we're supposed to do here.
Well, you got to like, subscribe, share, follow. We have YouTube, Apple Music, Spotify. There's one more in here that I'm missing, I know for a fact. YouTube, Apple Music, and Spotify.
Okay.
TikTok.
TikTok, too.
The one we were just talking about.
And we're looking for real people, no AI, so share it with your friends.
No bots. No bots. Stop sending bots our way. We don't know what to do with those. But, give it a like and share and follow and, enjoy.
Yeah, and none of those young women after my bot. I want to add stuff, right?
None of that.
No. That's
we want to educate them.
Yeah. Well, yeah. There's certain respects we do. And you know who? Do you know who just piped in? Do you know who that was, Patrick?
That'd be Colin.
That'd be Colin. And yes, and that's Colin. Colin, you could say something. Say hello to people. Say hello to people so that they know who you are.
Hello, everybody. This is Colin. This is Tom Scully Podcast. We need subscribers. We need followers. We need comments. We need reviews. We'd like all of that. Thank you.
You can hate, too. You're allowed to hate.
The hate is allowed.
But I think Colin got the point across that we're very needy. All right. But so, yeah. Now, we're good talking today about people that are in the limelight or were in the limelight or want to get back in the limelight. You see how that goes?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, sure. And so, I've seen recently Barack is he's come back on the some of these late night shows, and you've seen that, have you, sir?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, he's making his little press tour right now.
Yes, that is correct. You see, because I think that it's I've never been there, so this is a good thing. And so if you're not in the limelight, and you don't fall out of the limelight, you don't have to worry about getting back in the limelight, you see. It never was, which is a good thing, I think. Anyway, but so once you get there, it becomes addictive. And so for a while, while he was president, he was doing all kinds of shows. He was on Galifianakis. I think that's how you pronounce his name anyway, between two ferns.
Oh, Galifianakis.
Yeah, that's right, Zach. And he was on that show a number of times, and he just doing a number of quips, and he was, he's doing humorous skits and talking with Colbert, and he's on the show all the time. And then, of course, his time had come and gone. He had 2 terms, and it was time to go. But then, of course, there's a guy by the name of Biden came along, and so he was kind of still around, you see. But now Biden's kind of, Biden is kind of gone too, kind of. And so he's not in the limelight like he was. He's not in demand like he was, and people are not giving him the same, And so it's tough. It's tough, I guess, to leave it. Do you agree with that, sir?
Yeah, I think, with anything, I mean, even like with musicians or actors or whatever, I think that's like the most difficult thing for them to balance. Like, it's not often that you have someone who gracefully releases that center of attention that they were so used to. I mean, like even like maybe it's not even his fault necessarily, but if you look at Robert Downey Jr., is very popular young, and then he had his problems, and then he got, was the highest paid, most popular actor in the world with the Iron Man series and Avengers and all that, and then they killed him off in it. Spoiler alert. And then, like honestly, if you're mad about that spoiler, fuck yourself, okay? I'm sorry. That movie came out 15 years ago, and you had to wait in line to get into the damn. No, it was not 15 years ago, but it's like 6 or 7, something like that.
Right. Okay.
Anyways, but he dies in it, and it's like, what is he? What is the turnaround and happen like 3 years later? It's like, hey, we got like this huge movie coming, and it's got Dr. Doom as the center of it, and you're like, sweet, who plays Dr. Doom? And they're like, Iron Man.
Iron Man.
So, which I think that they're probably going to do it doesn't matter, but they're probably going to do like a Superior Iron Man thing where he's like not him, whatever. Anyways, so, but point being that I think that in anything, it's hard. I mean, you look at Tiger, if Tiger didn't get that Masters win, what was it, 4 years ago, we would be looking at Tiger like, why the hell are you on any ads or in any, whatever, but because he, snuck a win in. Whatever. Same thing with Brady. Imagine Brady didn't win at all when he went to the Bucks. You'd have been like, yeah, you were washed. You should have known when to let it go, bro. I mean, imagine he threw away his whole family and didn't get that Super Bowl. Like that, like what actually happened, right? Like he risked his family, and I've heard that I think that there's some sort of reconciling happening now that he's fully retired, but. I mean, man, like that's crazy, and the cost is probably not worth the Super Bowl ring, especially if you already got 6.
Yeah,
but
I guess to him though.
But to him, I mean, it's legacy, right? Like it's like he probably stayed up at night being haunted by the you only won because Bill and because the Patriots and because whatever. You know what I mean? And I think that's the same thing that you're dealing with like a guy like Obama. Like it's the same thing. Like he's being haunted by like the you developed the political climate that allowed for Trump to be here, or like had you had a better mentor or a mentee at the time, this wouldn't be happening to your party. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, I think one of the weird things that's totally missed about this Trump presidency when you see people argue online is like, it is almost entirely the left's fault that Trump became president. It was not like just a random thing, like where the conservative party was like, yes, we love this guy who's like crazy, and he had the, grab him by the blank, controversy, and he had the mocking the reporter controversy. No one on either side was like super enthralled by that right at the beginning. It was just that it was such a heaping pile of crap that was being offered to you from the other side that you were just like, nah, like I'm cool. Like you're offering me like the most corrupt politician of all time, or I could take a crapshoot on Trump. And most people are like, I'll give it a shot on Trump. Like I don't want this lady. And so it just. I think it happens in a lot of things, and I think it mostly stems from like regret. Like I think people that turn their back on a career, like Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan didn't think about the NBA seriously after he retired for the second time on the Bulls. When he retired the first time and he came back, I think he had more left on the table. But then after that, he was like, I'll be an owner player, I guess. You know what I mean? Like it was just playing video games. He's just having a good time at that point. He's like side questing, as we would say, Pops.
That Michael Jordan, wasn't he that baseball player?
1.5 seasons with the Birmingham Barons, 2 starts for the Sox.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah, I remember now. Getting back to our subject, and of course not leaving the Obamas behind too much. Barack had a wife. Did you know that?
Oh yeah.
And Michelle used to be the darling of the media while she was there, and very, very popular. And I think she made Vogue magazine a few times, and so
definitely
on.
Did. Vanity Fair for sure too.
And they talked about she had great guns. When they talked about guns, they talked about her arms, and that she was in great shape, and that she was all sorts of things. But so when she left the scene, they started saying negative things about her. The same people that were kind of praising her were saying negative, and all of a sudden they were saying that she looked mannish, and there was trouble in paradise and blah blah blah, and of course she as she started to fade. And she wrote this book, I think, and I don't know how well that did, but I think it did all right.
Yeah, her book did good.
Yeah, I think so. But she seems to be getting more and more angry. Have you noticed that? I mean, time is, and I'm very upset with you, sir, because I understand that you and your ilk have demanded that she straighten her hair. Did you know that, sir?
No, I didn't know that.
Oh yes. On her recent podcast, she mentioned that the white men had demanded that she straighten her hair, and that they would not accept her in any other respect.
I think that's an interesting take, because for someone whose political career started in Chicago, You know,
Yes.
I feel like you might find a lot of, let's just say, peers of different cultures, right?
Yes.
So I feel like it's a pretty lazy thing to, conclusion to draw that like, white men are the reason my hair's straight. It's like, yeah, that, or like the entrenched like visuals of politics. You know what I mean? Like the way that almost every first lady dresses the same, wears similar necklaces, has like the same haircuts, all that shit.
Yeah.
You know, like maybe it was that. Maybe we don't have to like for brownie points, considering A, we were already the first lady, which is the highest office that available to her other than the president, basically, and B, that you're from Chicago and like we don't need to use white people as a scapegoat in Chicago because there's plenty of non-white people here. I think that we would have been fine with Michelle Obama with an afro. Now I'm sure there's plenty of people who would have said something about it, but
people would have a problem with it, but
like it's the same people who were like hanging dolls of Obama and burning them. Like that's just someone whose political discourse is what it is.
Well, do you remember Lori Lightfoot?
I do.
She was
Beetlejuice.
And you remember her hairdo?
I do.
Now, there were a lot of criticism about Lori Lightfoot. You remember they didn't like this, they didn't like that, blah blah, and they finally voted her. She didn't. She's no longer mayor. But did you ever hear anybody criticize her for her hairdo?
Not really.
No. And now, if you have a problem with the hairdo, are you familiar with Representative Presley?
Presley, I'm not.
Well, Miss Presley has no hair. No hair. And other than myself and you, sir.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Yes, nobody else has really criticized her hairdo or lack thereof, you see, so.
Oh, did she? She looks like she might have unfortunately lost it too. Looks like she did it.
I don't know. See, I don't know anything about that. I just noticed that I was just noticed.
Yeah, but you're right. You're right. Like it's not, and anyone would dismiss generally someone's opinion if they're like, well, she sucks because she's bald. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. If you have good politics, I don't think we care about your haircut.
Exactly. I mean, obviously, like that's what was my whole point about Zoran, right? It's not that I was necessarily opposed that Zoran. I just thought it was insane, and I mean that in the most literal usage of the term. That like, very, very, like outwardly apparent Muslim man would run New York at any point in time in the next 20 years after 9/11 and stuff. And I'm not saying it's bad. Like it's, whatever. Maybe he'll be really, really cool. Maybe he'll be really good. Who knows? But it's just those optics, right? Like you just think that there's certain things that people will never overcome, or it'll take a long time to overcome. And then they oftentimes prove you wrong. So this narrative that white guys are just hate everything needs to kind of,
no, just a hater like yourself, sir. But other than that, the rest of us, we're all right. So, Colin, you got anything to say on this subject?
I think Obama, he's a younger guy. He's one of our younger presidents. So I think that naturally, he's probably in his 60s now.
Yes, he's a senior now.
That's normally around the time people become president or start making their like political runs. So I think that Obama just he's at that age where he probably just wants to be back in the limelight. He was in it earlier in his life. I know his wife probably isn't the biggest fan of it, but neither was Tom Brady's wife. and I think he's just trying to. I think he saw Kamala, and I think that's when he started coming back around, right? When Kamala started running. Yeah. After Joe Biden dropped out, and I think he's kind of just rolling off of that. And I think he's hoping for a Trump third term, so maybe Obama could do a third term or something like that,
Right. Honestly, like, in the back of your mind, you do have to think, like, how much would it behoove him to, like, use some back channel political influence to help allow for that.
Like be a vice president or something,
Right. Well, and that, I mean, just a total sidebar, like, that would be the thing that would stop a lot of the bullshit we talk about on a day-to-day basis is the vice president being someone from the other party, so that the arguing is there. That's where the arguing happens instead of the arguing being out here. You know what I mean? That theoretically, anyways. But with the limelight, it's crazy because you're absolutely right. He started with coming back with Kamala, and I think that actually, to a lot of people's perspectives, weakened Kamala's chances because it was like, oh look, she's not even good enough to campaign. They're like dusting off the last like good one. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and I like the last good Democrat, basically, right? Because it's like you're not going to bring Joe Biden to campaign for her, with her, because he obviously just got kind of like shrugged out of the party by them, and like I think that it, for me at least, like it was the harbinger of like, oh, they're for sure gonna lose. Wow, like that was the best that they had, was whatever they were willing to let us believe with Kamala going into it. You know what I mean? And it was very apparent. It was like, oh wow, yeah, you guys are totally done. You know what I mean? Like this is cooked. And I mean, I think that he sees that as much as we see that, probably more than we see that, and he's just sitting there like, I don't, like I said, I don't even think it's necessarily that he needs the attention, although I'm sure the attention's super, super addicting. But like he can get he could go be the most famous podcaster in the world tomorrow if he wanted to be. Yeah. He's the president. It's not that. I think it's he's sitting watching everything that he believed he built crumble around. I mean, the attacks on Obamacare getting stronger and stronger and stronger and more damaging to it each time Trump circles back and goes towards it. It's his legacy, and he feels like, shit, if there's any way for me to get in there and change my, bolster it.
Have you taken a look at your insurance premiums recently?
No, I actually just switched insurance, so I don't really have like a baseline.
Yes. Well, I guess my point is the reason people even switch insurance is because the insurance is what they call expensive.
Oh, yeah.
Very expensive. And so this was the Affordable Care Act, don't you see? But unfortunately, it's become less than affordable, and if anything, it's become unaffordable. But that gets us into another subject, does it not, sir? It gets us kind of, which is something that we're quite capable of doing. But back to the addictive quality of the limelight. Of course, we continue to have people. You have the Bidens.
And we're missing the Bush family.
Yeah, and there's something else that I forgot to mention. When you mentioned about the third term coming up, there was a guy who was not perfect, but his name was Harry Truman. Now, this goes back actually before even I was born, but there was a guy by the name of Franklin Roosevelt.
Right.
He was a Democrat, and he came as close as anybody to becoming an emperor of the country. He had been elected, I believe, 3 times. Could have been elected. He could have been elected.
It was 4 consecutive terms. He died right at the beginning of the 4th one.
Yes. He could have been elected forever.
Absolutely.
I mean, he was that popular.
Death is what stopped it. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. He died like right after he was elected,
yes,
right?
Yes. And so Harry Truman became the president. Then Harry Truman was a completely different kind of guy. And he was actually had, it was sort of like a Carter. He had the Carter lifestyle, but he was, of course, much more effective and smarter than Carter. And so he ran, and he was reelected. He was elected, and he could have run again, because the amendment, the constitutional amendment, did not apply to him. But he said no. He just walked away from it.
Right.
So Harry was a very unusual character in that respect. He just walked away.
You think about it, it is unusual after you've seen it, but it's like that was the status quo. Pretty much everyone after George Washington was like, listen, that guy was literally offered to be king of America.
Yes.
He turned it down.
Yeah.
And if that's what the guy who founded what I'm standing on here is, then I'm gonna follow that. I mean, up until FDR, and I don't even think FDR is necessarily a villain, because you have to understand. Yeah, I mean, you get it, but in a historical context, you have to understand.
Yes.
If I'm not mistaken, FDR started during World War I as the president and carried over through the Great Depression and into World War II. If I'm not mistaken.
No. Actually, he came in after the Depression.
Was it directly after the Depression?
Yes. There was Hoover, not J. Edgar. But,
33. That's right. You're right.
And so Hoover was Republican, and he was saying that things were going to get better. And actually, history kind of said that that may have been true. but nonetheless, people were fed up with him, and they wanted something new, and that is when they put in. That's
FDR.
when, yeah, and so of course, then the Second World War came along.
Well, and he was
See,
super radical too. That was what was crazy about FDR, is especially like now a lot of the things are things that are, entrenched in our government, so we're used to them. But like if I'm not mistaken, he was Social Security, right? Like that
yes,
was
Yeah.
that was him. That
Yeah, he
didn't
did a
exist.
lot.
He
a
did
lot.
income tax. I'm pretty sure income tax was from, it was either him or or directly preceding him, but income tax
Yeah.
was to combat World War II, if I'm not mistaken. But it could have been World War One. But anyways, the point being that he was a radical guy, and it
yeah,
was
yes,
it was crazy, but it was also radical times, you know what I mean, coming out of the worst depression the country ever have, and going into a war where all your men have to be deployed and your women are going to now become the workforce, and we still now very much so deal with the effects of post 1945 America, and what it was like to reintegrate as a society of guys who went to war and came home and had wives who now were kind of like, shoot, like sitting at home is really not what I want to do anymore. Like I found a purpose, you know what I mean? And it's like, not that that's bad, that's good, but that's where a lot of those crazy shifts happen. Anyways,
yeah.
but you were saying, so he was there for 4 years, and no one, Truman didn't take the
Yeah.
4 years.
From what I understand, at the end, he got on a train and went back to Missouri.
Was
Truman?
that his home state?
Yeah, his home state was Missouri. Got on a train, went back to Missouri, and just lived the rest of his life, out there walking his dog and blah. I'll tell you somebody else who did that pretty much is Bush.
Yeah.
Bush is basically, I think he's very relieved because I don't really believe that he was president. I believe that basically Cheney was president and
Yeah.
Bush was kind of, there. And he was quite relieved when he got out of office. So anyway,
Well, I remember growing up when I went to the Catholic school. One of my good friends was Mr. Well, his kid name was Carl, but they were the Schulers. So that Schuler was was a senator. Not this generation of senators, but previously.
yeah.
And so they were all, they were kind of connected politically or whatever. But one of those connections was he went to I think it was Harvard Law with George Bush, with W, the younger one. The dad did.
No. So I have to correct you on that, sir. Bush never became an attorney, nor did he ever go to Harvard. I think he went to Yale, and I believe that he ended up at the University of Texas because they did not accept him. And
No, that's exactly what it was. That's exactly what it was. Is they went to Texas together, not to whatever. And I think that the joke was that he got to be the president, and the other guy, the dad, did in fact go to Harvard, but he wasn't the one who became the president. You know what I mean? But so they were friends in Texas, is where I believe that they went to the undergrad or whatever together. Okay. And he would say all the time that this guy was like, he did not want to be a president. He was not interested in, not being able to drive, for example. He was not interested in like not being able to eat wherever he wanted. Like he was like a very normal guy. He said his like wants and needs are very normal. And he already saw his dad be president. He saw what it does and how it looks as like a logistical experiment. And he didn't want to do it at all. And I mean, it shows now, like the guy is, he paints the victims of the wars that he got us into. I mean, if that doesn't tell you that's someone who didn't want to be in this position, like it's too clean of a heart,
Well, here's the irony. I believe that his brother is trying to get back into the system.
Oh, I believe so.
Yes, I believe so. That's irony. And so we kind of let Colin out of this conversation for the last couple minutes. Yeah, no, I know.
No, I'm just here listening.
He's listening, but so do you have anything on any of this? Yeah.
Well, I think if his younger brother, right, Jeb's younger,
Jeb, yeah.
If he runs, then I'd say that kind of, I think a lot of people are going to start looking at like these families that are trying to run our country, and
Yep.
we have individuals, and then we have like families that come every 10 years, and they'll get elected into this state, and then one will go for a higher office, and one's a congressman or a woman, and I think that's gonna. I don't know. I think a third term by a Bush would be like a third term by like their father, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
I think Jeb will probably have different, ideologies and stuff like that. I'm sure he's different, but
Yeah, he was a little different.
Yeah, Jeff was a little bit. Jeff was actually pretty mild mannered, and unfortunately, when he got on the debate stage, they
With
ripped him
Trump.
up pretty good. So yeah, and so I would have thought that he would have been kind of frightened away from the situation, but I guess he's come back, gathered up his courage again. Is going to try to take another stab at it. I don't know. But yeah, so it's kind of like I was saying, it's just kind of difficult to leave the scene. So, actually getting back to now, not only is Michelle, she's become kind of bitter. I don't know if you've seen any of her broadcasts recently, but very bitter, and very angry with, angry with just about everybody. Fortunately, she hasn't gotten angry with me yet, but then again.
that might be coming soon.
That could be, I could feel but a woman scorned is something to be feared. And so, speaking about a woman scorned, I believe that Jill is back on the scene, or she wants to be back on the scene. I think she's off the scene.
Jill Biden?
Yes. But she said something that was very, very interesting. It was very dumb for her to say this, but it was true. She said one time she was being interviewed, and she said, she said when you're in a motorcade and you're going down the street and you see police cars on both sides of you, and you see that the traffic is stopped and all the side streets, and the streets that you're on, no traffic is allowed to go on. She said it gives you a great feeling. Gives you a great feeling of how important you are, you see.
Right.
And that you're able to, everybody else has got to stop what they're doing because of you.
Right.
So I think all of us feel that way, you see. The problem is you don't say it.
Right. That's the quiet part. You keep that part inside.
Yeah, she let it slip out a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. It's funny because that's totally like a very relatable, such a relatable statement. Because like I even remember like cousin Kevin, he does pilot cars, which they like basically there's like Amazon warehouses are built in these giant panels. Like they're massive, massive panels.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Yes.
And so they're oversized load because they hang off either side of the truck bed. Mm-hmm. And so they have to have the pilot cars with like the little flags. Well, those guys, those panels don't come from like multiple places. Like they come from like one or two places. And so they just are piloted the whole rest of the way there with a bunch of cars and cops and stuff. So when they reach Manhattan, it's obviously like, oh man, like, it's terrible. But so they schedule it. And the cops get there and they block off part of the George Washington Bridge. And you're sitting there all lined up in your pilot cars. Some of these guys who do it like professionally have some really, really cool cars because it's like their job is go out at midnight, drive in front of a truck, and then race back home as fast as you can, So you do have some like Hellcats and some cool stuff. But anyway, so you have this lineup of these relatively new cars. It looks very cool. The other lineup on the other side is police officers. And then the trucks are lined all the way back down onto the highway in Jersey. And they come in one at a time. And a unit goes with them. Units goes with them. Boom, boom, boom. And it's like nice little merge. There's something so cool about that, especially being in Manhattan. We're driving through Harlem, we're driving through whatever, obviously you're on the George Washington, so you kind of go under Harlem, but you're in that area and you're like, you're in New York, you're in New York City and Manhattan, and you're flying at 70 miles an hour behind a cop car with its lights on.
Yourself.
It's a whole different feeling, right? And that's just, I have to do this. Like that cop would very much so arrest you if you really got down. But it's like, it's just so cool. And so like, I totally get what she's saying, but yeah, you're absolutely right. Like that's the stuff that you don't want to be saying. It's like, having like servants in your house. Like probably just don't talk about that. You know what I mean? Like just keep that one.
It's a human feeling, but like when you're president, like you got to be quiet about that one.
yeah, exactly.
Well, I was demanding that I had a private caravan too, but I was told to shut up, and but I kept on demanding it, and they told me if I kept it up, they'd probably arrest me. So I stopped doing that.
Yeah, most people only get one, unfortunately, and it's when you die.
Oh yes.
You know?
Well, I'm going to hold off on that for the time being.
Yeah, if you
sir.
could, that'd be cool.
Yes, I would. Yeah. So yeah. So anyway, so there we go. We've gotten down to, and now we've got the Trumpster, and that guy. I would say that that's basically this guy. Even if you hate the guy, and a lot of people do, of course. Yeah, I think we all know that. And there's, and you know, sometimes he stokes the fire. He does that.
For sure.
But I think that this guy has actually Obama started it. Obama started it when he got on these various internet programs.
Yeah.
And they started it, and it was kind of like a groundswell. And so he got the popular people. He had a populist type of backing, and I think the same thing with Mandami. But I think if you look at it, probably nobody is better at that than Trump. You know, he knows the media, and if anything, even when he says outrageous things, you know, if he'll say something like, "Because she's stupid," are you stupid? Well, maybe that's not the most political thing to say, but so what happens is the people that dislike him, they broadcast this day in and day out, broadcasting the fact that he's calling somebody stupid. Though you say he's a terrible person, but the key is they're broadcasting it.
Yeah, he's been in the news every day.
He's in the news every day. And so, you know, I guess that's the name of the game. I don't know. I haven't been there myself. What do you think?
Good.
I was going to say, I think he's just got the media figured out. I think when he came in 2015, he didn't get a good reaction out of them. And I think he just learned to use them as an enemy instead of as like a friend. And it turned out to work for him, you know.
Yeah.
I think that's why he got elected. A lot of people like to see him have these reactions towards reporters instead of like a cookie cutter reporter or response that you normally give to a reporter, like if you're Hillary or Biden or just any other politician, really.
Right.
Yeah, it's interesting to me because a number of these programs, CNN for one, they went under. I mean, they're going under. They some of the people that they've had, like Acosta and a number of these other people that were, central to them, even Rachel Maddox and people like that, they're all losing their positions, and but yet, even though they're losing their positions, they're continuing to do the same things that caused them to lose their position in the first place. Do you see that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, well, also you said Casas, and I was like, man, isn't that a guy who wishes he could just go back to covering Michael Jordan? You know what I mean? But I digress.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know Colin, but he used to be Costas was like the like our Casey Johnson now. If you watch a Bulls games, he was like the liaison for the Bulls. But
okay.
And now he's just like a giant, entrenched media figure basically. But yeah, I mean, I think that it's kind of like, well, what I was going to say is I feel like, again, one thing that I think that people miss with Trump and with his like media handling and everything like that, it's not so much that he's so great at handling the media, which he is, but that's not the part that makes it so successful, right? What makes it so successful is like if you have a conversation with the average left-leaning person or the average right-leaning person, it's like a lot of these things, a lot of these battles are like won in the talking points or the margins of the talking points. You know what I mean? And so when it's like the Republican talking point is like, everyone should have guns. And then it's like, what's the downside to that? Gun violence. Okay. And then it's like, what's the upside to that? Potentially not gun violence, right? Okay, fine. There's plenty of holes I can poke in it either which way, but like that's a logical argument. But then you'll like go to like the trans argument, for example, and you'll be like, Why is this an important thing to like educate such a large part of the population over such like statistically speaking, insignificant portion of the population? And it's like, oh, well, because they need to know and because this helps and because they can find whatever. Well, if there's such a small group, we're assuming that there needs to be more people that are helped and that this isn't the fringe people who are already doing their thing, firstly. Secondly, what are we even, what are we even talking about? Like, it's a mental health crisis. Like, it's the same as young men committing suicide all over the country and all over the world, really. But like our country has a particular problem with it, and it's like the same conversation as stay-at-home mom, postpartum depression, any of these things. All of these have these same themes, and every other instance of us talking about a mental health thing is met with, how do we possibly get these people the mental health help that they need? And then you have the trans argument with someone, or that just to have a civil discussion with someone about it, and it's like, oh, well, it helps them. And then it takes like a very simple cursory Google to find like, we don't actually know. We've interviewed such an insignificant amount of them that have come back from these surgeries and stuff like that. We don't know, but they'll go beat like a drum that this is a fact you'll hear all the time, and like you need to be equipped to refute it because it's so dangerous to the youth. But people will say trans surgery has less of a regret rate than hip replacement. Well, that's because there's probably as many hip replacements as there are trans surgeries in a year in a single day, firstly. And secondly, because people aren't embarrassed about going back into their doctor to talk about their hip replacement and to malign their hip replacement. Someone who feels like they've disfigured themselves is probably never going to walk back into a medical place with a straight face again, okay?
Yeah, it's like super scary.
It's like beyond psychological damage that these people suffer if it's something that they don't want to take in. And from the left side of it, that's totally under the rug. We're not worried about that. It never happens to children. It's happened over 1,000 times to children. All of that type of stuff. I have all this data because I'm just tired of having these arguments with people who like just refuse to live in reality. But like people, they do this thing. That's why when Trump says, makes fun of a reporter by doing this, or says grab him by the pussy, or says whatever, that's why people don't care. That's why people don't care, is because you go and deal with the reasonable moral neighbor who's a leftist, and you like say like, hey, I'm like a little apprehensive about the trans thing, and they're like, you're evil? And then you're like, well, I'm apprehensive about having kids. They're like, it never happens to kids. And then you're like, well, I can prove that it has happened to kids. And then they're like, you're a bigot. Like, it's like, it just doesn't work. And so then you're like, well, you know what? I'll just metaphorically in the conversation, I'll just chuck the grenade then. I don't care. I'll flip the table at every discussion I'm in because I don't care, because we're not having good faith arguments anymore in these avenues. And so, people want to talk about why Trump is able to have such a chokehold on it. It's because his nonsense makes more sense than some other people's common sense, and maybe, you could say maybe not to everyone. Well, we have a way to decide that. It's called an election, and you got trounced. So, like, I don't know what you expect. I didn't even vote. I honestly could. I'm not choosing between like poop and pee. Okay, like I'm not into it. But like all the people who did vote, all the people who took the time out of their day to go and decide who the president was, more of them decided the other guy. And the reason isn't because he's the best choice. The reason is because the other side is delusional. And so like, let's circle this back to the Obama thing. Obama's trying to come back in and I think bring some of his reasonable, he was a relatively reasonable guy. A lot of people flipped after the Obama era to conservatism. You know what I mean? A lot of people were big time Obama era Democrats. And then it was just as that unfolded, it became worse and worse and worse for, the people had egg on their face that they didn't want to have because they didn't think that this guy was going to be that way. And, it's just, now he's trying to come back and right that ship. And it's the same thing I was saying. Like, it's like, it keeps you awake at night, right? Where you're like, oh my God, like we might never win an election again in my lifetime if it keeps up this way, is like part of the like thought process. And he's trying to figure that out and trying to figure out how to get back in there. But I think the problem is that, people are tired of it now. It's gone too far. You know what I mean? You need a guy like a Zoran. Like Zoran got elected because Zoran said crazy stuff. It takes someone who manufactures these clips, who manufactures these 30-second sound bites in order to be a politician anymore, at least a politician that like gathers any truly rabid fan base. You know what I mean? And it's just a lot of other people are not equipped to do that. I mean, Obama certainly isn't equipped to be a 30-second soundbite guy. I mean, he would have to reform his entire, measured way of speaking and everything. Like, it's just it doesn't work. He was like the last super classy president we had, I guess, if you would say. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm really curious to see what 2028 looks like, because that could be like, pretty surprising. I don't think we're gonna have. I mean, like we were saying earlier, like maybe Jeb Bush, but we're not gonna have Bushes, we're not gonna have Obamas, Bidens, none of that. Trump's gonna be out, so it's most likely gonna be someone from his cabinet. And then the Democratic side, I'm not really too sure who it could be. It could, it's just a toss.
I would assume AOC is who they've got to be priming to run. She's the only one that like seems to have that energy, I guess, if you will. I'm not a Democrat or a Republican really. I think I trend more conservative on a lot of things, but I could go either way a lot of times during elections. And she's someone who, like, with the right cabinet around her and right thought processes, like, coming out of her mouth, I would be possibly willing to entertain it. You know what I mean? But
another name that comes to mind is Gavin Newsom.
Right. He's probably who they're number one trying to get in right now, I imagine.
Well, my thought is that these, here's the problem I have. These are not serious people. They talked about, like, Bernie Sanders the other day. He has, in all the years that he's been in, he has never produced one piece of legislation. Not one. And so, but what he has done is he mobilizes the base. And that's what AOC does. She mobilizes the base.
Yep.
And that's now, and so you got this Newsom character out there in California. The place is burning to the ground. He's got no water. He's got no solutions. And yet, if he was at Burger King and he burned up a couple of burgers, his ass would be thrown out the door. But here, the most important part of the state burns to the ground. All these houses were owned by multi-millionaires that burn right to the ground, and he's out there campaigning again, and so, but he's not a serious person, nor is
no. I mean, it's sorry. Just what you said is so evidenced by Trump talking about they have that reservoir that they could use in order to get water to LA, and as a political tool, he's not doing it. And then he acts like that's not the case. The Palisades burned to the damn ground. A lot of those people leaving to Texas, leaving to Montana, leaving to New York, never coming back. And there's no urgency, there's no whatever. And we're talking about a state where 90% of their water goes to almonds. 90%. I'm sorry. I don't care. I don't care.
Is that for real? Like,
yeah. It's like
so,
it. I'll pull up the real numbers while Poppy talks.
Well, if it goes to almonds, that's just nuts. I mean, you go along with that. But I'll tell you a guy that I think is somewhat serious is Shapiro. I think he's a serious person.
Ben, you're talking about?
Shapiro, the governor of
Pennsylvania. I got
Shapiro, I think Kamala said, talk about bias, talk about prejudice. She said she didn't pick him because, of course, he was Jewish. That's why she didn't pick him. This is a black woman. They didn't pick this guy because, that's how that goes. So
I'm sorry, I said almonds. It's 80% of the water, or 80% of the developed water in California goes to agriculture. Almonds being the largest of that, which is like a total
80%.
Yeah, which is like I think 20% of that 80% is almonds.
Okay.
But I don't care. Like, I don't care. When you have cities with 22 million people in them, I don't, like, the agriculture is important, but, like, what are we doing here? You know what I mean? Like, again, these people, I don't even care that they're millionaires, although that it's just like bad business to let a bunch of millionaires' houses burn down. You know, if you're playing The Sims and the forest fires coming towards the millionaire neighborhood, you want to stop it because you lose GDP, you know? So let's, first off there, but, the other part of it is, what are we, like, what are we talking about? Like, what you guys need, like, the agriculture, like, I know they say, like, a huge percentage of our farmland is in Florida or in California, and I'm just like, okay, great, but, like, people's houses are burning down. Like, what are we talking about? Like you guys don't have water. Like, you have to ration water. And again, all of this is possibly solvable by rerouting some of the water, but definitely solvable by using that, like, glacier reservoir that Trump, like, told him about. But because Trump, or not told him about it, he knew about it. But Trump saying that makes it so that it can't happen now. It's a political tool now. You know what I mean?
Well, you know, even with the Pacific Palisades, I mean, down the street they have this little body of water called the Pacific Ocean. Yeah, that's got some water in it, I think. And
Some have said.
Good amount.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so that was what and in fact, that's what some of them that used. They had these planes that come up and
the ones that scoop the water. Yeah.
Yes, you know, but and so I guess one of the things that that when you said about Obama, my thought about Obama was he spoke well.
Yeah.
He spoke very well, and as you said, he seemed to carry himself well. The only problem was nothing got done.
Right.
Nothing got done except for this Obamacare, which turned out to be a disaster. And so, you know, and so it seems as though we have a problem with substance over form. You know, so you got some guy who looks good, or you have somebody yelling and screaming. You got AOC up there yelling and screaming. You got Newsom up there flapping his arms around. I mean, you know, and he's not a bad-looking guy, not particularly good-looking, but not a bad-looking guy. You know, he kind of has that appeal to him. He's younger. But, you know, nothing's been done, and actually the things that have been done have been screwed up. You know, you got Kamala. Again, she would have been fired from any job that she had. And this other guy, Walsh, that's kind of, you know, that guy's kind of frightening.
Who, Tim Walz?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Well, there you go. No, I think that's the exact response to the guy. It's really that, you know, it's, and so this guy, if somebody, let's say that she got elected, which would be a horrifying thought. I really do think that the country would be in very bad shape if she. I mean, she was supposed to take care of the border. When they first came in, they said she is going to be the border czar.
Right.
So that's kind of, you know.
And then like each day, what was it? 25,000 migrants just waltzed in.
Yeah. So and so now she said that, now she said she should be president. I'm thinking to myself, what? I just, you know, I mean, you know, if you had a job anywhere, I don't care where the hell it was, if you had a job as a reporter and you didn't show up on Monday, you'd be fired.
Right.
You know, if you were at Burger King and you burned all the burgers up, you'd be fired. If you were at Kmart or at Walmart and you didn't stock the shelves, you'd be fired. But here you got somebody that goes in there and has millions of people, and they're trying to get into the most important job in the country.
Well, and remember, Pops, the other most important element of this is you're racist if you don't like her.
Yeah,
well,
you're
are,
sexist.
Not me. Sexist too, you are. Yeah.
Sexist, racist, all of the ists in the book. Mind you, this lady, you know, couldn't figure out what identity she could get the most voters from until she got up there. Those are dangerous waters.
That's what Trump came up with. He said she wasn't sure. He thought that she was Indian, but then she became a black American. So very well,
because I mean, to me, this is all I'm going to say is if I was a black American, I'm not, but if I was a black American, I probably wouldn't have spent my entire career cutting my teeth, locking up a bunch of people who look like me. Just saying. That probably wouldn't be the feather in my cap. That's all I'm saying, though. I don't want to get too crazy with it, but I just personally would have a hard time doing it.
A little bit.
Yeah, that's the, you know what I mean? But we'll let that lie. But I just find it hard to believe.
There is the old saying: "A girl's got to do what a girl's got to do."
It's true.
Yeah,
it's true.
So,
She remind you know who she reminded me of? She reminded me of Elizabeth Warren.
Oh, well, that woman, she's very emotional. I mean, she's very emotional, and so I don't know. But that seems to play. It seems to play well. But I think, I think we've had this conversation before. But it's sort of like, when you root for a sports team, I don't care what the sports team is. It's irrational. It makes no sense whatsoever. I don't care who the sports. You pick a team. You say
You're a fanatic.
Yes.
Yeah.
But so you say, who's your sports team? Well, whoever. You say Dallas Cowboys. That's America's team. Well, why is that? Well, I mean, I like the uniform. Who's the coach? Well, I'm not sure this year. Who's the best player? Oh, well, and so, but for some reason, you root for that team. And I think it's the same thing almost with politics today. You're just rooting. You're rooting for a team. I like this team. I like the way that they have. I like the color of the jerseys. I like the town that they represent. But it makes no sense. I mean, it's not rational. It's just for you pick a team, and then so let's say you pick the Bulls. You pick the Bulls, and 30 years later, you're still rooting for the Bulls. It makes no sense. The Bulls never did anything for you. They never sent you anybody. They never did anything for you. But yet, you argue with people, pound on the table, say what a great team they are, and, how dare you say anything bad about them. But it may, and which is fine when you're talking about football, baseball. But
Sure, yeah.
But you're talking about politics. And so that's the way that you that's how you can you're rooting for somebody. So if you're a Democrat, you're rooting for the Democrats. If you're a Republican, you're rooting for the Republicans. Well, some of these people, they don't know who's on the team.
Right.
They have no idea.
They just go in, vote red or blue down the ticket. They don't care.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
And it's. Go ahead. Sorry.
I wanted to ask, I'm a younger guy, but haven't elections always been this way? Like Democrats and Republicans and just people pulling the lever for one side? And
I think actually one time people actually kind of had ideas who they were. For example, certainly people had an idea when Roosevelt came in because they were sick and tired of this Republican idea that things are going to get better, but they didn't get better. And so they went with this guy, Roosevelt, who came in with a bunch of these social ideas. And in many respects, they don't know whether he helped the country or not, but the Second World War came along. And as bad as it was, that's what helped the country. Mm-hmm. The Second World War was a great boon to the United States. And one of the things they did is they had the GI Bill, and all these guys came out and they went to Harvard, Yale, and they became, very extremely successful, which is why the country was so successful in the 60s. We were very successful during the 60s. And then after that, we had Eisenhower, and of course, people voted Eisenhower in because he's a general. He was a general during the Second World War. And so that was the idea. And he was not a guy that jumped up and down, so it wasn't like people were rooting for the Republicans that way. And after you had Eisenhower, I think the first time that people started getting to the point where they started rooting for people was when John F. Kennedy came along.
Yeah.
And the reason was he was handsome, very handsome guy. He was.
He really was.
Handsome.
He was like a movie star.
Yeah. And women liked him. Yeah.
He's like, 36 or something like that, right? Or 41?
He was
41.
I think 41 when he got elected. He was the youngest president. And then, but he was very good looking. He was charismatic. And he had not done a hell of a lot in the Senate. Was he? But anyway, people liked him. And of course, our family liked him because he was Irish.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
And he was Catholic, you see.
Yep.
So Irish Catholic, and so everybody.
So you pulled that lever, huh?
Yes, and many of my people in my family all voted Republican, don't you see? But when John F. Kennedy came along, they immediately switched. They switched, and they all became Democrats.
even the city of New York, that's a big change there. Was New
Yes.
York, I think, was generally pretty Republican or mixed or whatever, and then John F. Kennedy is one of those first presidents where they were like, ooh, he kind of represents us a lot more. There's a lot of young Italian, Irish people here that, you know, kind of have some swagger and kind of have that like brevity about them. He represents, you know, he was, I think, the first thing where you started to see what was not named yet, but called identity politics. You know what I mean? I identify with it, thus it is just type thought, you know?
Actually, Nixon had the better qualifications by far.
Oh, for sure.
But he was a guy who he didn't look good.
Right.
You know,
Yeah,
he
he
didn't
had
look good.
the
That's right. Didn't look good, and so he had his own problems. I mean, he was paranoid and he had all kinds of problems like that. So there he was, and then you had Clinton come along, and Clinton kind of tried to look a little bit like Kennedy. He wasn't that good looking, but he had a way about him.
and he was tall as hell, which always contributes.
He was tall, and he spoke well, unlike his wife.
Yeah.
His wife came across as bitter, mean, and mean-spirited, but he came across as friendly, down home kind of guy.
A guy you'd have a beer with. I think that was very much where he was trying to hit, you know?
Didn't he say that too?
No, that was Bush.
Was that Bush?
That was Bush,
Yeah.
and I thought to myself, that's not the reason you voted president, because you want to have a beer with him. But
They all started cheering after he said it and everything.
yes. But and so people liked Clinton because Clinton actually was he went both ways as far as political. Sometimes he was conservative, sometimes he was liberal, but he was very likable, unlike his wife.
Right.
And then of course you had the Bushes come in, and the Bushes were likable. He was likable. He was the kind of guy you want to have a beer with, and then he got nothing done. So we had a whole bunch of people got nothing done. So you had Bush got nothing done, and then you have Obama. He got nothing done, but he looked good. And then of course you had Biden. Well, we don't have to go into that one, but anyway. So that
Don't you mean AutoPen?
yes. Well, there you go. I mean, but no, there's another story about that guy where nobody knows who's running the country at that time. Really,
No.
that's. I mean, all kidding aside, that's kind of a scary thing.
Oh, it's insane.
Have you guys done an episode on that yet?
Well, one of the things they're going to come up with is they said that actually they have this woman. I don't know her name. I just heard it recently, but she was in on the cabinet, and they've had some people that are turning against them, and they're turning against them because they can make some bucks.
Right.
Talking about the limelight, you see, it's a way to get into the limelight.
Yeah.
You see,
It's like the freest money you'll ever get.
yes. See, so you were in the background. You were in the mailroom, but you were right around. This guy Biden, and so you saw what was going on. And so now that he's gone, and you're out of a job, you come forward. You say, "Oh no, this is what happened." And Joe Blow was running the country, and blah. Well, the thing that's come up now is that actually the country was really, there were three people, these three guys that he evidently knew for a long time, but they say the person who's really running the country was Joe Biden. They say, well, this is a person that's had no experience with, yeah, that's true. And so, that was kind of a scary part of it. So this guy, and so here's where we are right now. A lot of stuff is being done. That's going to be the question. Stuff is being done, and I don't think anybody can deny that stuff is being done. The problem is, a lot of people object to the stuff that's being done.
Right.
See?
Well, and one thing that always that gets me, like for example, something that just recently came up, like within the past 3 days, is the K cars thing. Are you familiar with what a K car is, Colin?
It's like the radio jingle, right? And then you could like rent out cars or something.
No, it's like
that?
so a K car is a class of car in Japan. I suppose I should just explain it anyways because it's like assuming that viewers know Japanese cars is insane. But anyways, a K car is a class of car for usually like first people, but like the people with their first license. They have very small CC motors, like usually 1600 cc or less, and they're like, let's say, you couldn't fit them side by side in an American parking spot, but you could get damn close. They're very, very small cars. Okay,
I think I know
Like
what
a
you're
smart
talking
car?
about.
even smaller than a smart car, but about the
They're
same
like
footprint.
2 seats in the front,
Yes,
and they're
yes.
like real small.
Well, they can. So the beauty of them is that Japan's mastered the packaging of them. They can come in so many forms. There's K-car minivans. There's K-car pickup trucks. Like if you've ever
really?
seen those little white pickup trucks that have the 2 seats in the front and the tiny little metal bed, that's a K-car.
Yep.
Someone imported that from Japan or from Italy. Also has its own version of them made by Piaggio, the people who make Vespas. But anyway, so K-cars are like amazing for the Japanese economy because it allows for Japanese people to have new cars year in and year out and year in and year out. They can always have them, and it's a great city car that fits, if you have a parking lot of just K cars, you can fit 30% more cars in it. So
yes.
Trump recently just signed that he wants them to build K cars here in America and sell them here in America. Now, that's really good. The problem with that is we need to be realistic with it. They're never going to bring the infrastructure here, not in any meaningful time, not by the time that Trump's out of office, for sure.
No.
They're never going to bring the infrastructure over here to build these cars that they've only ever had to build in Japan, right? They don't even build them in Italy for the Italian ones. Those are usually built off-site unless it's Piaggio again. So, these cars need to be legalized in America so that people have an opportunity to buy new and lightly used cars that are actually, financially viable for them.
Yeah, for work and all that.
But we don't need to worry about
the.
Yeah, exactly. And we don't need to worry about the beating on the chest. It's American built. It's American built. It's American built on everything.
Yeah.
Some things we can let it be. And so I think what it is it's a victory with the words, but the policy is not going to affect change. You know what I mean? It's like he's saying the right thing. We want to bring these cars here because we want people to be affordable. Exactly what you said, for people to get jobs, for people to whatever. That's what he's saying. But the problem is he's kind of putting that gun to the back of their head of if you make them here though. And it's yeah, but they don't want to invest $250 billion of infrastructure to get K cars on American roads and to have to homologate, basically not homologate, but they have to make them legal for American road use. And then headlight height starts to matter. Crumple zones start to matter. It's just the problem is there's a lot of people who are touting that this victory, whoa. And it's yeah, but that's identity. You're identifying with it and getting excited. You're not thinking about what it actually is. And it's at no point in time is Subaru gonna start building sandbars here in America.
Well, I've made a fatal mistake, you see. I've kind of let Patrick get into an area that deals with cars, you see. You see what the problem is there?
It's like a road that doesn't stop, huh?
Yes.
Some have said.
That is correct. So somehow or other, the world policy, the world blowing up, it will somehow revolve back to roads. And don't you see, roads need cars to ride on, and then that will bring us to cars. And then the cars are the thing that really matter. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And so then we can go into old cars, then we can go into new cars, we go into big cars, little cars, fast cars, slow cars.
And that's where Patrick comes in.
Oh,
huh?
yes. See, actually, when he was a little boy, his grandmother and myself took him around we showed him all these cars, you see, when he was a little boy. And unfortunately, he kind of stuck with them. He just, it was one of these things that was imprinted in his brain when he was very, very young. And he's just never been able to get away from it.
It's true.
That's what happened.
A lot of cars, huh?
A lot of cars.
And you drive a Tesla.
Drives it.
Actually, my wife drives the Tesla, but I do own a Tesla.
Yes. Well, you don't deserve a Tesla. You. But then again,
I drive a 2013 Ford Fusion every day because such is the life of a restaurant owner. You cannot have nice things.
What happened to the? I'm trying to think. Whatever happened to that? The
BMW?
The Toyota.
You mean the Lexus?
Yes.
It exploded.
It did?
It had 270,000 on it. It just there's a common problem with them where it's a common problem with them. There's a valley plate leak. So there's in between where the 2 cylinder banks are, it leaks coolant. And it's not a problem. It just happens on these cars. Well, mine wasn't having that. Mine had a blown head gasket. I took it to the dealership. They were like, no, it's not a blown head gasket. I was like, no, it for sure is. And then they gave me back a car with a blown head gasket and it blew up in their parking lot. So
I see.
Ford.
No, although funny, but no, a Lexus actually.
So did you get rid of the Lexus? Did you?
No, it's
trade
sitting
it
out
in?
back of my house right now.
Oh well, you might be able to do something with it.
Yeah, I'm gonna get it repaired, but I had to buy another car. Probably. I'm talking about the K cars. That's why I was like, oh man, this is really cool. But like, oh wait, you said they have to build them here. Like this doesn't work anymore because it would have been a helpful thing for my business. I'll get a little K car, put it outside my business, and be like, boom, delivery car. I can run like a runabout, whatever. It's a great thing, but
No, I agree with you.
it's gonna take
Yeah,
time.
I like that K car idea. They need to bring that.
Yeah,
in.
Yeah, they
well,
do.
The smart car didn't seem for. But here's a problem with the. And so I guess we'll try to wrap it up. But anyway, the problem with the K cars or the smart cars, which is a great idea, and smart cars are very, very popular in Europe.
Yeah.
But the problem is you have these densely populated areas with these country roads and so on. And so that's what we got. And getting back to Eisenhower, we were at Eisenhower. He did what they call the interstate.
Yeah.
Yeah, built the
Interstate.
highways.
And so, it's very seldom that you get anybody in the state doing less than 70. So, yeah. And all of a sudden, I'm hearing my voice much louder.
Yeah, something happened there for a second.
Yeah, that's been happening.
Going on.
Yeah.
It's okay. So, all right. On that, I guess. Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, it's gone.
Oh, back.
Yeah,
there we go.
And so I guess the point was these little cars, they're not going to make it on the interstate. Could you imagine getting hit by a semi-trailer with a smart car?
Well, you're right, and what's funny is that was the whole campaign for the smart car, was showing one get hit by a semi truck and the car doesn't bend or doesn't break or whatever. But it doesn't really matter. It's optics. Like, we're humans. We're judging safety a lot of the times by stuff, just like looking at stuff, and small car, giant trucks, fast speeds. It's just too scary for the average American.
Well, the smart car would be a great car for New York City.
Yes.
Great car. If it doesn't leave New York City, it doesn't go on the highway, it's a great car. But anyway, we're starting to get my echo again, starting to go up. And so I think that there's a message there. You know what the message is? The message is get the hell out the air. You just messing stuff up. You're trying to stay in the limelight. You just won't leave, You're grasping on to that fame that's eluded me all these years, and I refuse to let it go. Colin wants to say something before we leave. I know he does.
I'm gonna say, don't pull the lever. Vote for your right candidate, whether it's Democrat or Republican. Do your own research. Don't just vote for a family. If you're out of the limelight and you're a little old, try and stay out of it. It might not be good for you. And subscribe to Tom Scully Podcast.
Well said, sir. I think it's important that you don't keep your head in one place and refuse to leave it. It's a good idea that, try to be flexible and try to look at the issues and then try to make your own decision up. And how about you, Mr. Patrick? I know you've been quiet during this entire time, so perhaps you have something to say to us.
Well, the echo is just intoxicating, honestly. But first off, sorry about the audio issues. We're figuring it out. We're still learning. I think that everything Colin said is totally true. I think that, if you're an older politician and stuff has passed you by, maybe affect change via influencing the way that the public thinks about issues as opposed to trying to influence the way that they vote about the issues. Because I think that the problem is when you attack someone's voting, you're telling them what to do. But when you attack someone's thinking, that's where you can actually cover some ground and try and help them build reasons for why they'll believe the same as you, or reasons why maybe they'll still disagree. I have plenty of debates with someone where I come away from it like, man, that person was intelligent, respectful, and awesome, and I love that they had so much information about their stuff, and now I hate it even more. You know what I mean? Like, it's happened many times, and it's okay. Like, that's okay. We're allowed to disagree, and that's what it is. That's what we're here to do. We're trying to make some headway here. We're trying to figure out how to make not just America but the world a little bit of a better place. And I think with a Pope from Chicago, how could you go wrong?
Well, I guess anyway, I'm going to go someplace else. Do you remember there was a singer many years ago by the name of Dusty Springfield?
Yeah, I've heard his name.
A couple years ago. No, well, if you've heard his name, you haven't heard of her at all because it was a her.
Oh.
Anyway, Dusty had a number of songs, and one of her good songs, one of the lines in the songs was, "The echoes of my mind." And that's what we have, the echoes of the listener's mind going on today. And so we're going to leave them with these echoes. And so I want to say goodbye to everybody. And do you have anything to say before I say goodbye to you, sir, or adieu to you, or adios, anything?
Nope. But "Son of a Preacher Man" is her best song, I guess.
Yeah, but that's where we differ, sir. But that preacher man did some strange things to her. You know that.
I know.
He moved her in a way that she had not been moved before. And Colin, do you have anything to say before we sign off?
Subscribe to Tom Scully Podcast, and goodbye to the Echo.
Okay. And with that, I'll say goodbye.